Martin O'Neill has spoken openly about Reo Hatate's future, and the words he used will concern every Celtic supporter. We have also got a major update on Arne Engles and the bids O'Neill is expecting, a new Celtic coach speaking publicly for the first time, a young prospect revealing what Scott Brown taught him, and two players opening up on the mood inside the pre-season camp in Portugal. A lot to get through. Let's go. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Ross Grant has spoken publicly for the first time since joining Celtic's coaching staff, and the set-piece specialist has made clear exactly what he intends to bring to the club this season. Grant joined the Celtic backroom team at the end of June after leaving Hearts, where he was considered a key figure behind their analysis and dead ball work last season. He holds a UEFA A licence and has previous experience working with Dundee United across 4 years before his time in Edinburgh. His arrival was driven significantly by first-team coach Mark Fotheringham, who recommended him to Martin O'Neill. A lifelong Celtic fan who grew up going to games with his family and waiting at the end for players' autographs, Grant is now one of the people those supporters are counting on to help the team improve. Speaking to Celtic FC's YouTube channel, he outlined his role clearly. He said, "My role is probably quite heavy analysis based in the background, looking at opposition teams, looking at our team and seeing where we can get success. And then on the coaching side, a lot of the stuff that I can do is built into the style of play. So it's conversations with the manager, Sean, Foz and Mick about how we want that to look and how set plays fit into that without changing the style everyone wants to see Celtic playing. And when we have a set play, it's an added way to try to score a goal." That is a very clear and measured first interview from someone who clearly understands the environment he has walked into and what is expected of him. Set pieces were not Celtic's strongest area last season. Goals from dead ball situations could make a real difference, especially in tight Champions League qualifying ties where margins are small. Grant knows that. The club knew they needed someone in this role. Now the work begins. Now for the main story, as Martin O'Neill has given his most honest assessment yet of Reo Hatate's future at Celtic, effectively acknowledging that the Japanese midfielder may be on his way out of the club this summer. Hatate recently spoke publicly about wanting to leave Celtic and seek a new challenge elsewhere. Those comments shifted the tone around his future significantly, and O'Neill has now addressed them directly in an interview with Record Sport. The manager did not try to close the door on a departure. Instead, he said, "I think that Rio has done exceptionally well at the football club since he arrived. People have said he might even have been the best player in Scotland 2 or 3 years ago. I think myself that he's probably looking to maybe see if there's new pastures for him. I'll see how it goes with him here when he's there. Like everything else during this particular time, it's a bit unsettling for players." He then went further in a way that felt like a goodbye more than a statement of intent to keep him. He said, "I'd love to keep him at the football club. He's done brilliantly and he's got a year left to run. But I said to him, if he left the football club, I would be obviously disappointed, but he couldn't have done any more for us. He really couldn't have done any more. And Rio himself, let's see what options might be around. But if nothing develops, I'd be very happy to keep him." Read those words carefully. O'Neill is already making peace with the idea of losing him. That is not the language of a manager who expects the player to stay. It is the language of someone saying their goodbyes. Hatate's contribution since arriving from Kawasaki Frontale in January 2022 has been enormous. He was arguably the best player in Scotland during the 9-in-a-row era. He transformed the midfield, scored crucial goals, and became one of the most technically gifted players ever to wear the hoops. But his role changed dramatically last season. He made no starts in the final 2 months of the campaign and was used only as a substitute. A player of his quality does not accept that quietly for long. If Hatate leaves, Celtic lose a player they may struggle to replace. The situation around midfield this summer is already concerning, and losing one of the most creative players in the squad before a Champions League qualifying campaign begins would be a significant blow. In other news, Martin O'Neill has confirmed that he is bracing himself for bids to arrive for Arne Engles before the transfer window closes, though the manager also stressed that nobody has come close to the level Celtic would demand for the Belgian. Engles has been the subject of serious interest throughout the summer. Nottingham Forest were relentless in January, submitting 3 separate bids with the final offer worth around £25 million. Celtic knocked them all back and held firm throughout the title run-in. Now the summer window is open, Forest and others are expected to return. O'Neill was direct when asked about the situation. He said, "I would imagine so, yeah. At this minute, I don't think that anything has happened." Some of these things, it carries on up towards the end of the window and then suddenly something happens. I'm not saying we're not prepared for it, but you're not ready because it's happening too late. If, for instance, all those bids that Nottingham Forest made come in on the 11th hour, that was just a non-goer for us at that particular stage. If some things can happen a bit earlier, then maybe there's some resignation on my part. Those final words are important. O'Neill is not saying Engles is untouchable. He is saying that if a serious bid arrives early enough in the window, the club can plan around it and find a replacement. That is a more open door than the one January presented. Engles has reported back for pre-season, played in the second half of the Shelbourne friendly, and has since travelled with the squad to Portugal. He is behaving professionally and getting his minutes in, but the speculation around his future will not go away. Celtic paid a club record £11 million for him in August 2024, and with Nottingham Forest having already offered more than double that, the financial logic of a summer sale will not be lost on the board. Callum McGregor's future also remains uncertain, which makes the midfield picture heading into the new season an increasingly fragile one. In other news, Celtic Academy midfielder Kyle Ure has spoken about the lasting impact Scott Brown had on his development during a loan spell at Ayr United last season, and the 20-year-old's words paint a vivid picture of how much that experience shaped him. Ure made the move to Somerset Park through Celtic's cooperation agreement with Ayr United, a partnership designed to give younger academy players the chance to test themselves in senior football regularly rather than spending another season in the Lowland League. The prospect of working under Scott Brown was a major factor in his decision to go. Brown, of course, spent over a decade as Celtic's captain and is one of the most decorated players in the club's modern history. Now managing Ayr, he brought that deep knowledge of what it takes to play in the middle of the park for a club like Celtic, and passed it on directly to Ure every day in training. Speaking to Celtic FC's YouTube channel, Ure said, "It was a massive experience. It's one that I'll forever be grateful for. It was probably a big driving factor, and the reason that I chose to go to Ayr. Obviously, they had the co-op agreement. But I went there, I loved my time. I think a big part of it was working under Scott Brown and all his coaches over there. So it was a really good learning experience for me. And because he knew so much about what this club was like, it was the ideal person to go and learn off." That's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.